Gotta have that on. Oh no, you don't know unless you're a witness to this place on the map that I can't say where I am. It's March 11th, 2025, 7:14 p.m. I can't say a thing about a thing. Oh heavens no. Oh heavens no. But I can film at 7:14. I could not even consider it. But I can only film right here in this chair. So we're not going to do a basic thing with the lasagna. We're just going to have to do it like this with a blasting sound machine. Okay, I'm so grateful to God I can do it like this, at least like this. There's some revisions I need to revise because when I type out for the good guys bunker recipes, I do it off the top of my head. You guys already know when I'm doing it and what's happening in here. But for the public, I do it off the top of my head. It's what I'm making by pattern. It's what I'm making later. And if I get a green light, then I can go ahead and publish it. It's not always the circumstances here that I can even do that, consider even typing it. But I can't make any comments or statements on where I am or anything. I just have to film the revisions of the lasagna, bunker lasagna right here in my main room on my chair with a blasting sound machine. Okay, so when I went and did it, I've done it a few times in here, not a lot because of the circumstances of where I'm at. I never had to make it on a stovetop skillet until I was in a terrace complex, ISIS compound complex. But because of those circumstances, it did challenge me. So I did my Iron Chef thing, and I Iron Chefed it a few times. And so when I was typing it for the good guys, I realized when I was making it that here's revision number 1 that comes to the top of my head. Yes, layer your ricotta on your regular noodle or your no bake. This is bunker, so it's no boil, and I need to revise that. Revision number 2, it's not no bake. My memory is pretty gray, right? So it's the no boil, oven ready lasagna noodle. So back to revision number 1. When you put your ricotta on there and you put your layer of cheese on there, granted you're using a layer of pork, or maybe you want to dice up some into little medallions, some Italian sausage, whatever you want to put in there. Ground beef, you want to saute it, you don't want to mix it with the marinara like I typed. You want to put your sauce, that's what I was thinking when I was making it, over your cheese at that point. Not a lot of sauce because the sauce is just going to dissolve the cheese. And then you want to layer your beef. So right there, you can tell I'm not a lasagna master. No, nope. I make a classic American Italian lasagna. It's heavy meat, it's heavy cheese. I think it's the best lasagna you can get. But if you go to a top shelf Italian restaurant, you're going to get served a little bit different variation of a lasagna. It's not going to be Heidi's lasagna. It's going to be a more classic Italian lasagna, which is going to be so good. But it really depends on what you like. I prefer the American, Italian, heavy meat, heavy cheese, lots of sauce, New Jersey. That's how I learned. That's where I learned. That's where I mastered it, was Staten Island, New Jersey. It took me a few years. I mastered lasagna, so I believe so. But I'm not saying mastered, because if I mastered it, I wouldn't get stuck on the conundrum of, do you put the layer of meat and then the sauce? So these little things like that. I can't wait to get together with the good guys and gals, and we can discuss this little lasagna forum. We'll make it, all of us together, we'll make a couple batches for some of the soldiers on the base or something. We'll make a whole bunch of it, of lasagna. We'll bake it. We're not going to do the skillet. We'll bake it, because there's nothing compared to baked. This is how it's supposed to be cooked. And then we can discuss for fun, something nice to talk about. What's the best point to apply the sauce? Does anybody know? Because I'm not really totally clear on that. So that's my revision number 1. Because it's bunker, because I clearly labeled it bunker, this is emergency bunker lasagna, I just put the ground beef right into my sauce like I do my spaghetti. Is ready to go. You just pour it on, and that's what I did. But as I was layering and making it, I thought, you know what, I might have to revise that. So that's revision number 1. It's still an open question. I'm not really sure, but it'll work either way. You can do it how I typed it, or you can put the sauce after you layer your mozzarella. You can put a thin layer of sauce, or however much sauce you want, with reason, and then a nice little layer of your ground beef, pork, whatever you want on there that has the seasonings. And then you hit it with your next noodle on top, layering it up. Okay, so the revision number 3 is the ricotta blend. When you're blending the egg with the ricotta, I give you the right measurements. 1 egg, 1 ricotta container. That worked fine for that size of lasagna. So what I was making when I made my ricotta blend is I put the wrong measurements again. You want to have a half teaspoon of salt in that baby, in your ricotta. Whip up the egg, whip up the ricotta, put a half a teaspoon of salt, and easy, dude. You can easily put a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. It actually is required, but I didn't want to go overboard this time on seasonings. And I happen to have had some fresh basil, which I never get. It's because of circumstances, and I'm not allowed to talk about anything. But I knew this back when I was making lasagna on Staten Island. Basil is it's a super champion. It turns your dish into a champion. If you can get fresh basil, put it in your ricotta. And this is the revisions that I'm not going to type. We're just going to all get together and do it together. And I can also film for fun for all the people a nice little tutorial, like maybe fun for all cooking show, but we'll do it on a base. You know, like I just said, maybe if a couple of the guys or gals want to join in on the camera, it depends. I know some of you are agents, but we'll see, okay? I can do it alone, but it'll be fun because it'll be set on the base. It'll be really cool. That's a cool setting, yeah. And we'll make a whole bunch of big batch so people can watch and know that we're cooking it for a big group of people. They can do it too, for a large group if they like at home. All right, but the basil is really important to add to that ricotta. Oh, how much basil? Like 2 tablespoons. It does not hurt. 2 tablespoons, and I'm certain on that. So mix that up with your half teaspoon of salt. Like, don't be shy on the salt. And throw a little pepper in there. That's classic, right? Ricotta blend. And then spread that on your noodles. And then the layering process. I hope I haven't confused the world on this. And then revision number 4 is when you get to the very top of your lasagna. Okay? You don't want to put ricotta on the noodle on the top. You can. It's not a huge deal. But the top, and this is also important when you're baking it, the top of your lasagna is just noodle, sauce, and cheese. All right, revision number 5. I went under the quota for marinara. I made 28, my brain with the trauma, hold on, 28 plus, it's 38, 9, 40, 41, 42. I made 43 ounces of sauce. In that photo there, I made it. Of course I make my marinara. But the point is 40, would I say 43 or 48? I already forgot. My memory is. Anyways, whatever I said, 40 something ounces, that was not enough. It could have used another 4 ounces on the top by the time I got done with as much sauce as I like to put on my lasagna, which is what I do when I bake it. So I did it here, It's what I know. Heavy sauce, heavy cheese, New Jersey, really classic American Italian, Sinatra, all the way. Sinatra Italian lasagna. It's classic. It's so good. And we love Sinatra. I love Sinatra in my house. Okay. I should probably post more Sinatra. But Sinatra doesn't exactly block out all the heinous noise here. But I can't make any comments on that. So that's revision number 5. You want to have a good 45 ounces of sauce. So that would be 3 jars. Or you could just make my Italian mother's World War II sauce. I would suggest you do that. It's so good. It's the best and only way to go. And just make 45 ounces, okay? So what that is, that's a 28 ounce can of your whole tomatoes, and grab 2 15 ounce cans, or however you want to do the math on that. You can get another 28, but you can get 2 15 ounce cans of crushed tomato. Make it easy on you. I like to do the whole tomato. I explained why. We'll do it another time, explaining that again, because it's a great thing to talk about again. I like to crush them, but we'll talk about that later, because I already kind of touched on that topic. All right, so, but the point is to have at least 45 ounces. And I'm telling you, if you like it Sinatra style, American Italian Sinatra style, you want to have heavy sauce and all that, to top it off, it could have used 2 to 3 more ounces on the top of sauce. Now, it turned out really good. It doesn't look and it didn't taste like it needed sauce. So this is maybe not the perfect lasagna, right? But if you're baking it and you're like me and you love that Sinatra American Italian classic lasagna, trust me, that extra sauce and cheese and ricotta is really good. But don't go crazy on the sauce. If you make 48 ounces of sauce, I'm saying really don't soak your lasagna in marinara. use about 45 ounces of it. You don't need to measure this and get all neurotic. You can use 3 jars, and you'll see what I mean. If you're putting a nice little heavy thick layer of sauce, one layer, and then the next and the next, you'll see what I mean by the top it's got to have that sauce. So, and you'll see what I mean by you still have half a jar left over. If you use 3 jars, you still have a whole bunch of sauce left over. Don't use it. That would be too much, and you would kind of do a disservice to your lasagna. Just put it in a Ziploc if you paid a lot of money for the jar, and freeze it. And if you didn't pay very much money for the jar, just throw it out. So once you get, this is revision number 5, once you get to the top of your lasagna, you want to use the noodle, the sauce, the marinara, and then a heavy layer of cheese. That's your Sinatra Italian-American style lasagna. You're not putting ricotta on the top. That's the revision. No ricotta on the top. That's not standard. The standard is noodle, sauce, and cheese. Okay, revision number 6 for the lasagna here is when you're cooking it on the skillet, get 2 boxes of no bake, and try to throw in about 6, if you can, extra sheets, because when I ate it, I realized it's kind of mushy because it cooks not in the oven but on top of the skillet, so the cooking process affects the water content, the steam, all the stuff. We'll skip talking about that, we'll bypass, but it comes out a little mushy. So the more noodle the better. And this is my take, because I've done it in the bunker here with the no boil, like what I just wrote, and I've done this in the bunker with the regular noodles that you boil. For the bunker, you really don't want to be boiling noodles, so that's why I didn't do that again. But if you want to do a bunker style and it's not literally in the trenches, I can't make comments in my situation or circumstances, but if you want to do that, my full-on suggestion is to get either layer it up a little bit more, like 5 or 6 extra ones, just throw them in there somewhere while you're layering it, of the no boil, and then it won't be as mushy. You don't have that problem when you use the regular noodles that you boil. You don't encounter that. But with the no boil, the way they are made and the way they are made to cook in an oven, they're not made to cook on top of the skillet. That's when you'll discover that it's a little mushy. But I mean, when you're in a situation and circumstances like I'm in, you don't know how grateful you are to have anything like what I made. It's a super good lasagna. And you know what saves it is the marinara. The marinara, the ricotta blend with the basil. It's so freaking good. It's just a little mushy, yeah, a tiny bit. Like I would say maybe 15% mushy. I'm doing this real critique now, and I can't be critiquing in the circumstances and situation. That's completely uncalled for. It is so good, okay? I wish I could film it. But yeah, so when I ate it, I was like, no, add a little more if you have to do this again here. Of those noodles, get 2 boxes, not 1. Now I won't use the whole box. I'll have some left over from box number 2. But just throw a few in. And revision number 7, this is my own tip, TIP. When you layer your mozzarella, take some of that fresh grated Parmesan and put a little layer of that on top. So I did that with every layer of the cheese, and it just adds that salt, that Italian American heavy cheese flavor that I personally love. And you can still capture all this flavors that I keep talking about, the Sinatra Italian American lasagna that everybody loves. You can still capture that in your skillet. You just don't bake it in the oven. But nothing compares to baked lasagna. Nothing. And the sauce, it doesn't retain the water, and so you don't encounter this mush. It is not mush. I'll take another picture. That is not mushy, yucky lasagna. It is so good. I could serve that. I would be proud to serve that, but it's just a little bit mushy and all that. So, but as far as, but I mean, my God, you're doing it, in a crunch, or maybe you're camping or something. You could camp and do that. But if you're doing it on the skillet, this is fabulous. I'm really glad I could share that with everybody. But if you want to do it proper, like I want to do on the base with a little cooking show for fun, I hope I can. It's not a problem to hope. It's not a problem to talk about it. But if you're doing a little cooking show, you need to bake the pasta. That is how lasagna is meant to be prepared. Okay, this is for off the beat circumstances if you're using your stove. But I'm really glad I shared that, okay? So the little tip with the Parmesan, put the Parmesan on every layer, just a little cover of it, not tons of it, have some reason to what you're doing. And then when you get to the top, do the Parmesan on top, cover it with all your mozzarella and everything, like I said, cover it with tin foil, get your lid and have it airtight. And another revision, number 8, or are we at 7? You need to cook that baby on low heat, not like really low, but I was correct about the temperature. But you need to cook that lasagna for at least an hour and 20 minutes. So that everything, if you're using a no-boil noodle like I just put on the internet, it's got to cook for over an hour. You can open it up and see what I mean. If you're using the boil regular noodle, I would say at least an hour still, because you got the layers and all that cheese. Everything's got to soak in and cook and get the flavors, etc., etc. Okay, so I've got to get off the camera app. I've got to get off the video in here. It is getting dark, and that is a huge reason why. Okay, we need to stay reality-based in the United States. I don't care what you people in America want to pretend, but reality, you've got a fucking terrorist cell in your capital city, and there's dire consequences for it. You're going to get a reality check, Americans. And as far as me, it is now getting dark. I gotta get off the camera. It is 7:37. Have a good night. Adios.